Welcome back to the Tracy Take. Today, Ryan and I will be reviewing the Minnesota Vikings 2021 season. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we have a goal of getting to 400 subscribers by the NFL Draft, which is at the end of April. So if you have not already subscribed to this channel, share this video with your Vikings friends and fans. Like this video, comment on what you think that the Vikings need to do in the offseason to win the Super Bowl next year. And Ryan, let's get into it. So we talked about the Vikings a lot because they were one of the few teams for a majority of the season that were in the wild card hunt from very early on, from week 5, week 6. So we reviewed a lot of their games, talked about a lot of their games. Yeah. And unfortunately, obviously, they ended up kind of fizzling out down the stretch. The last time that they were they were never above 500 at any point in the season, which I think does kind of show how weak the NFC was, because they were at multiple times the projected 6 or 7 seed, even when they were just at 500. But teams like the Eagles really picked it on, team like the 49ers picked it on, and the Vikings, just their weaknesses that we are going to address here later on, really affected them, and some very shocking losses, such as to the Detroit Lions. What were some of the positive things that the Vikings can take away and can build on going into the 2022 season?
Yeah, so for me, I think everything offensive was relatively positive. Their running game was the weaker part of their offense, and it was still average. And I think a lot of that had to do with Dalvin Cook being in and out of the lineup with injuries after kind of the turning point, or the midpoint of the season. And then I think you have to be happy with Kirk Cousins' performance, even though he is going to be a fifth of their cap next season. But I think Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are a great duo. There is promise at the tight end position with Irv Smith Jr. coming back. He did have a season-ending meniscus tear. And I think Tyler Conklin was the other tight end who filled in actually pretty well. And so I think when Irv Smith comes back, I think they'll have 4 legitimate receiving options. 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers. That will be a very formidable group. So I think for me, offensively, I think they did a really good job. And then signing Kevin O'Connell, he's going to come in and bring in a whole new system. And I mean, seeing what LA has done and kind of what Zach Taylor has gone from in Los Angeles to Cincinnati, I think Kevin O'Connell will be a similar kind of transformation from Los Angeles to now Minnesota. So yeah, that's I like it, and I think they have a good future going forward. I have kind of a bold prediction at the end of the episode after we talked about some of their draft and offseason needs.
I agree with you on the offensive side of the ball. I think they did great. I think Kirk Cousins had another underrated season. He had 4,200 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, only 7 picks, and not that I don't think he's obviously the best quarterback in the league, but he's not nearly as bad as everyone says he is. He does say he's in that same field as Matt Ryan, I would say, where it's like really good quarterbacks, but just seem to just be on weak teams or teams that just can't seem to get over the hump. And since he's the quarterback, maybe he gets a little too much blame. I'll leave that up to the Vikings fans that watch this video, even though I think I probably know what you guys think about Kirk Cousins. But I think he had a great year, and then him and Justin Jefferson are definitely on a wavelength that very few other quarterback receiver duos in the league have. And I will say one thing, and sorry, my computer is slow in here right now, so I'm trying to find the stats. But I will say I think the front 4 of the Vikings defensive line had a good year. Danielle Hunter unfortunately got hurt, but when he was in, he had 7. I think he played in 7 games and had 6 sacks. Huge. I mean that's huge for this team. DJ Wonnum had 8 sacks on the year. They had 3 other players with 5 sacks. So they have talent on the front, but going into kind of what they really need to address is they had one of the worst secondaries in the league. And that's where it really started to get noticed when the Lions beat them in like week 11. because you're seeing this Lions team who really only have Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't even think T.J. Hawkinson, he might have been playing in that game. But it's like Jared Goff and company just tore that secondary up.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then from there, then everyone started to see the trend. And that's, I think, one thing. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the draft, because with where they're at, all the top linemen, which is something that they need to address on the offensive side of the ball, and some of the top cornerbacks are going to be there. So kind of seeing which route they go, which route that they want to draft is going to be very interesting to see who they find most valuable when it comes to their turn on draft day.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think a couple prospects on draft day that they could look out for on the O-line would be Kenyon Green and Tyler Linderbaum. There's a good chance that one of those guys will make it to them. And those were the two weakest positions, were offensive guard and then center. And I think those are two guys that would come in and be a huge plus right away. And for me, I think just the defense overall, I think the pass rush was good, but run defense was like 26th, so even that wasn't a strong suit. I could also see them possibly investing in a linebacker. They don't really have any.
Yeah, I would say Anthony Barr would probably be one of their top guys. He had tied for the most picks and also had several sacks. But what's going to be interesting though is Well, and what's going to be interesting, though, is he's going to be a free agent, and then Nick Vigil's also going to be a free agent. They're also going to have Sheldon Richardson is going to be a free agent, and Xavier Woods, their safety. Key pieces on this defensive side, but as of right now, I believe they're projected to be 14 over the cap. So they're going to have to cut some people just to make room, just to sign this draft class, do some restructuring. So it's going to be interesting on what decisions they make, because several of those pieces you would want to consider bringing back, as key pieces to whatever good there was from this defense. So it's going to be very interesting to kind of see what they decide. But I think Kenyon Green, I think, would be a great pick. I think also potentially if Ahmad Gardner for cornerback, if, he should still be available. Trent McDuffie should still be available. We could also potentially see some guys fall, like maybe Derek Stingley Jr. might fall as well. And then who's the Florida cornerback that you like? Elam. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like, all those guys, it's going to be interesting. And this is especially this point in the draft. Last year, it's like we could predict or had a very good understanding of probably what the first 8 picks were, so it made picking 12th easier to predict. Now it's I've seen some projections, like maybe some people. I've seen some where Kyle Hamilton for some reason falls. And then people past Minnesota take someone like Kyle Hamilton and be like, it really could. I mean, the only people that are certain to probably go within the first 3 picks or to go early is Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal, and Aiden Hutchinson. Those are the only people that I can guarantee will not be available for Minnesota.
Yeah, and like some people have him falling. This isn't a draft episode, but some people have Kyle Hamilton falling just because the safety position isn't that valuable. They view him a lot like Derwin James, who fell down to 18 or 19 for the Chargers. So it's definitely interesting to kind of look and see what they're going to do. But I think the biggest things they need to address are that guard and center position in the offseason, and then defense. Pretty much all around, I feel like. I think they could improve everywhere, except maybe pass rush. But even then, bringing in a young pass rusher, maybe in the 5th or 6th round, wouldn't hurt at all. So that's pretty basic. But I think the Minnesota Vikings are in an interesting predicament. So going forward, they are, in my opinion, probably the second best team in that division. You could argue about Chicago, but I still think Justin Fields is a bit of a question mark. And I really think that if they can address some of these positions, even if they just get Kirk Cousins a more functional offensive line, especially on that right side, where it's Ali Udoh plays, I think Kirk Cousins could have an MVP caliber season next year. That's my bold prediction. Is I think Kirk Cousins is going to throw 45.
All right,
yards,
I like it. I wasn't
40+
expecting that.
touchdowns in less than 10
I was expecting on who they might draft or they might trade him. But I mean, it's possible. Like he has. I mean, to have that ratio of that 33-7 ratio. I mean, that's up there. What was Aaron Rodgers' ratio? And he just won the MVP. Was it like?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
And he.
44
Well, and Rodgers only threw for like 3,800 yards, right?
Or like,
you know what I mean?
Or 8, I forget.
Oh, your boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your boy TB12.
That wasn't. Tom Brady should have won that. He led the league in passing yards, touchdowns. He was like top 5 in completion percentage, and he had only 10 or 12 interceptions. So, and if you take Tom Brady off the Buccaneers, they're 6-11. Like,
oh, I just think it's just
you could say the same
it's
thing
just a
about
dumb
Rodgers
it's just a dumb award. Who won the Super Bowl?
Especially this season.
Not the Bucks or the Packers, so it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But I mean, like with the stats you just said, yes, I still don't think. I mean, he doesn't have the same name power as those guys. Now, like I agree with you. If he has like a Matt Ryan 2016 season, and then the Falcons make it to the Super Bowl, like then yes. But like
that's exactly what I was just
Packers.
about to say.
I mean,
yeah.
Rodgers started out the year with just a stellar game against the Saints, and he still won the MVP. And then now Tom Brady wouldn't be playing, and so. But then you still have so many other young or also better branded quarterbacks to give the MVP to.
Yeah, this team, in my opinion, though, was just so they were so close to being like 11-6 or 10-7 and making the playoffs. Like they had, I think,
Bengals lost on an overtime field goal. Cardinals the next week missed a field goal to win the game. Lost by the Browns, where they held them. They only scored 7 points. Lost by a touchdown. Those are 3 one-possession games. Lost to the Cowboys 1 possession. Ravens in overtime. Yeah, I mean you're right. Like a couple things go their way.
So
they're in the playoff, and then they're playing against the Cowboys. Most likely.
Yeah. And that's my thing. And I think this defense is going to be really hard to rebuild in one season, especially with an offensive-minded coach. And so
and they have the weapons to do it. The biggest thing, even though if it's an offensive-minded coach, how they handle their cap situation is going to be the most interesting thing to watch for them, because they're going to have to cut some people, and then they're going to have to bring on just some league minimum guys and see if they pan out. So, but it'll be fun to watch. It'll be interesting to see if Rodgers leaves, what happens to that division, because then the Vikings could win it. They really could win that division.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting to watch, and I'm excited to watch it play out through the offseason and into next season. So, but I think that is going to do it for this episode of the Tracy Takes. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you think the Vikings should do in the offseason. And if you have not already, please subscribe.
I want to make it clear.
400 subscribers.
We did not reach that goal of the Super Bowl, but it got pushed. It got pushed to the draft. The Super Bowl of 2023. We're hoping to be by Super Bowl 2023.
Sorry, by the draft. Yeah. Hopefully we can make that. Yeah. So, all right. But other than that, I think we will see you guys next time.